Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. It's your boy Hillman here, and I'm back again with another video. For those of you who are new to the channel, I'm Hillman. I'm a fourth year medical student at Maastricht University. And yeah, I share content on medicine, med school, culture, vlogging, all that good stuff. So if you like the stuff I share, check around a little bit. If you see something else that catches your eye apart from this video, be sure to subscribe, press the like button. You want to be updated when the next video comes in, and I'm glad to have you all on for this YouTube ride. But okay, today I'm going to be talking about, like the title says, working as a medical student in Maastricht beside your study. So basically working and studying as a medical student in Maastricht. And I'm going to be touching on a few points. I'm going to be touching on the cost of living. Is it necessary to work in the first place? Second, I'm going to be talking about, do you have time to work as a medical student in Maastricht University? Third, I'm going to be talking about language barriers which you might face working, just getting a job in the city in general, because they do speak Dutch here as the main language after all. And then last, I'm just going to be giving a few experiences for my part, of course, which also depends on what kind of job you eventually get or have. So without further ado, without talking too much, let's just get right into the video. But yeah, let's talk about the first thing, the cost of living. Comparatively, because I've lived in the Netherlands, I go to Ireland often because my sister lives there. I have family in Paris and all this kind of stuff, so I do have some degree of comparison with other countries. And I think in the Netherlands, there's a lot of things that make the cost of living comparatively low. It's not that expensive. Of course, if you compare it to other countries, it might be, but I think it's average in general. It is average. It's not too expensive. There are cheap supermarkets you have everywhere. There's also a lot of other supermarkets like an African store, Asian store, and all this kind of things. So there's a variety to pick from. You can also just easily go to Germany and do shopping in Germany, which is way cheaper too. So the cost of living are not that dramatic. I would say it's average pretty much. And another thing is the bikes. Like, you can get a bike and you can bike everywhere. The city is not that big, so your bike will literally take you everywhere, right? And that literally saves a lot of money. It saves you a lot of money to not have to take the bus everywhere and stuff like that. But I think, so generally the cost of living is average, it's okay. But if you're really trying to get the most out of your student life, you're trying to go to parties, go eat out, be able to go on trips with friends, hang out, get stuff without necessarily always feeling constrained by finances, I'll definitely advise you to get a job. Get a job on the side. It's just good for your flexibility. It's good for your maturity. It's good for your responsible feeling, or whatever you want to call it. But it's just good, right? Just good to have that job on the side, which it makes you also feel some degree of independence, which is nice, especially as a medical student. You want to get that as early as possible. That feeling of, you know, I can do it. I don't need to rely on people and stuff like that. So I think that is something. And also it's completely different if you get the Dutch finance loan, or like the studie financiering. That's a whole different story. But yeah, that's a topic for another time. But generally, I think getting a job on the side is something which I would advise, especially in the first years of your medical career, like the first 3 years, where you have comparatively more time to do that. I'll definitely, the experience is worth it. Now let's talk about the time itself. Next to your study, do you have time next to your study? Simple answer, yes. Is your time management optimal? That is the question you should ask yourself. Because if you manage your time properly, you definitely have time over to work and do like a part-time job, a few hours a week. For sure. Because I mean, in the first years, it might be difficult because you're then just getting into the system. You're trying to navigate. You're trying to see if it's something for you and all these things. But especially in year 2, in year 3, depending on how well your time management has gotten over time, there is room to work part-time jobs. There is room to do a lot of stuff on the side. There is room to take board years. I had 2 board years in second year, and I was working as well on the side. It is possible. I've worked at least 3 jobs. I'm now working at the University Student Services Center. That's like a stable job for now, and it is doable. It is completely doable. The moment you get into your master's, it more or less becomes less possible unless you're working in the weekends. But in the first 3 years, it's definitely possible to have a job on the side, like if you just manage your time properly. And they encourage that as well. They encourage you doing other stuff outside of your just book and study stuff. So I think it's definitely advisable to get a job. No matter where you're from, there's always something you could find. There's always housekeeping jobs or whatever. You can always find a job. The next thing is the language barrier, which you might face. Because if you're an English-speaking student, you might think, oh, but it's going to be difficult for me to get a job in a Dutch-speaking country, Dutch-speaking city, and stuff like that. No, you can get a job. If you want to work in Maastricht University, you definitely can get a job. You can find a job. There's housekeeping options, there's call center options for French speaking students, German speaking students, English speaking students. There's a lot of jobs. There's have I said housekeeping already? Yeah, I think I said housekeeping already. There is steward jobs. Of course, in Corona time there are more, but there's a lot of different options you can pick from, guys. So it's the language barrier is not something I've necessarily noticed as an obvious hindrance to you getting a job. It can make the process a little more challenging for you because you feel like you're not relating with people or your work or whatever. But just the mere fact of you getting a job and getting paid, I've noticed if you want a job and you want to get one, you would find one, no matter what language you speak or where you're from. So definitely the language barrier is not something which stops you from getting a job, in my opinion. It might make it a little more tricky to get one, but I don't think it stops you because it's always something you can find, unless you're very picky with what you want, and then that is a whole different thing. But definitely that was my opinion on the language barrier stuff. And just experience wise, in terms of depending on what job you get. For example, as a medical student, if you get a job as like a nurse in the hospital, that's really good for your experience and stuff, like your portfolio. And employers in the future who you're going to apply to, or residency programs, they can look at these things and be like, okay, you're someone who is someone who does a lot of stuff outside of what the medical program, like carves out for them to do. So that's something which you're definitely better off, just the experience and relatability you get from a lot of these side jobs which you do, because ultimately, like, a doctor has to be able to communicate with patients, and people have to be able to relate with you as a doctor. You might have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't know how to relate with patients, ultimately, I don't think you're going to get that much. You're not going to meet their healthcare needs per se. So I think that all these small jobs really build you as a person, which ultimately builds you as a better doctor. So I would definitely advise it. I would definitely, if you're wondering whether or not this work-life balance thing is possible, it is possible. You just have to be able to manage your time properly. Yeah, guys, basically those are my few thoughts on the whole and my experience on work and study balance so far. In the masters, it's a little tricky because you're working the whole time basically, but in the bachelor's, I would definitely advise you to check it out and try it out if something you're wondering, because some people it's just not for some people. Working is just not something some people can combine with their studies, so it's understandable. But if it's something you can do, I'll definitely advise you to give it a try. But yeah, guys, that's been it for this video. I hope it was helpful to someone. Please like, subscribe, share with someone you feel like wants to hear this message, someone this message might be useful for. Please share, do all that good stuff. And if you want to be notified when I post a new video, please just hit the subscribe button, and you'll definitely be notified when I post something. I'm going to be posting a lot more often, hopefully. But yeah, guys, on to the next time. And also let me know in the comment section if there's something you want me to talk about. I always say that, but just do that. And on to the next time, guys. Stay healthy. Excuse me. Just had a freaking little brooch here. Lekker.